welcome to my channel. My name is Anya and in today's video I want to do a full face of makeup using my project pan items. I also have a couple of items that are not currently in my project pan because I only have 20 things in there. So anything that I'm also panning that doesn't have to be in there, I have in my Shop My Stash. So there are a handful of things here that I also want to finish, but they're not in the project. There is a fair amount of steps here though, not all of them strictly necessary, but I'm trying to use them up. The easiest way to do that is to just use them. I think I'm just going to get started. I'm going to start with primer, and I have 3 primers. So I'm going to start with the Smashbox primer water, and this I just spritz all over my face. I really do like this. I feel like it helps with my skincare, keeping me nice and hydrated and moisturised all the way. And I also like the scent. Next up I have the NYX Hydro Touch primer, which I am almost out of. This is like a moisturising primer. It has a light blue colour and it's like a gel texture. I don't have a need for this in my makeup collection going further, which is why I'm trying to use it up, but I just put a little bit out onto the back of my hand and then put that all over my face. It does a pretty good job of keeping me hydrated and giving my skin some moisture, but my moisturiser already does that, and if I need an extra layer of that I will just put it on. So I don't mind using it and it works really well, but it's not something I'm going to repurchase because my moisturiser already does it. Next up I have the CoverFX Illuminating Primer, and I really like this. This gives my skin a really nice glow. It just is really nice. It doesn't go overboard, so it doesn't look like I've put a liquid highlighter all over my face, which I quite like because that was my main issue with the Becca ones. They were just too much, but I really like it. It is really nice and pretty. Doesn't work underneath liquid foundations for me, but I can make it work under concealer and under colour corrector, which is how I wear illuminating primers for the most part, or I wear them on their own when my skin is doing well, which it is today. I tend to start by applying that to the high points of my face, so my cheekbones, forehead, nose and chin, and then blend it into the rest of my face. Next up we have concealer, and the concealer in my project is the It Cosmetics by Undereye. I have the shade Light, and I was unsure how I was going to go about using this year because I can, or I could, only use this underneath my eyes. It looked horrendous on the rest of my face, whether I used my fingers or a sponge, and I didn't like how it looked, so I could only use this under my eyes. And this has a lot of product in it, and I don't use a lot when I use it, so I thought it would never be possible for me to finish it. I then decided on a whim to just test it with a brush, because I have foundation brushes but I never use them because I don't like applying foundation with brushes, because I find that it just accentuates texture and doesn't look nice. Decided to try this with a brush. The one I have here is the e.l.f. foundation blurring brush, and it looks amazing. I love how it looks. It looks exactly like how I want it to look, which is glowy, plumping, smooth, and just really nice. What I will do is apply a streak. I apply kind of a lot of this onto the back of my hand. This is a product that you don't need a lot of because a little bit goes such a long way and it's very emollient. But I apply, you're not going to be able to see that probably, a hefty amount onto the back of my hand, and then take my brush and dip it into it, and then just dip the product excess off around it so that I don't end up with too much on the brush. And what I will do is I will stipple this on my face, and I tend to start focusing the areas where I have the most redness, which is my cheeks, nose and chin, and then work my way out of those areas. I do a light layer on the forehead just to even things out, and this is a concealer that can be evened out very easily, but I prefer using a stippling motion over buffing or dragging it around. I just find that works best for me. So that's my entire face done. I do like to set underneath my eyes with a little bit of powder. I'm using the Hourglass one that I am almost done with, and I'm just using a small brush and setting just the area where I get creases, which is like the inner part. I don't want to set anything on my cheeks because I'm going to be wearing cream products later, and then I just do a quick dusting over the lid. I'm gonna do the rest of my face before I move on to my eyes, I think. My bronzer is a mixture of the Rimmel Insta Duo contour stick. I have the shade Light, and I take a little bit of the highlighter shade first and just run that all over the back of my hand so that I end up with a large section that's very glowy, and then I do the other side, which is the bronzer side. Looks like that. It is too warm for me to use alone, so I mix it with the Fenty Matchsticks in Amber, but I like adding the highlighter for a little bit of extra glow because I found that I don't like applying the highlighter on its own, so I just mix it in instead. And then I take the matte matchstick in Amber, which is a very cool toned brown, which is too cool tone for me to use on its own for the majority of the time. So I mixed that in and now it looks like this. And then I just take a stipple brush, this is from e.l.f., work the product into the brush, then I have a lot of it on, and then I'm just gonna stipple on a little bit, pretty much all over my face. I like getting the product onto my face before I start blending it in, that way I can see that I've mixed enough. And then I'm just gonna stipple until it's blended. And I do my cheeks, I apply it like a bronzer, so fairly high on the cheeks, I don't contour. I do my temples, my forehead, and I do like half of my forehead, starting at like the hairline, a little bit below that, blending up and then blending down. And then I'm also doing the nose, and I just do across like the bridge of the nose, connecting it down on the cheeks. I do most of my entire nose, I also do the area in between my eyebrows, and that's just because I feel my nose sticks out a lot and it becomes very pale when my cheeks have got bronzer on them. So I find that to make my nose blend better, I just put a light layer of bronzer all over. I want to do a little bit more bronzer on the cheeks, focusing that just on the outer part of the cheek, so towards my ear. I'm also going to take a little bit on my chin. I'm then going to remove about half of the bronzer from the back of my hand. I do like leaving a little bit on until I'm done with blush and everything, because occasionally I can put a little bit more on after I put blush on. I kind of wait until everything is tied together, and it's easier to just leave a little bit on than have to mix a little bit more later. The blush I'm using is the NYX Slip Tease Lip Oil in Poppin, which is a peach. Mine, I am fairly certain, is expiring though, so today is the last time I'm going to use it. But it's a really, really pretty colour. I am almost out of it. I have used a lot of it. And I just use the same brush, stipple in, and then apply the blush over where I've put the bronzer on my cheeks. And I really like peach blush on me. I take the tiniest bit just across the nose to tie it in with the cheeks and also with the bronzer. And that's my face done. For my eyebrows, I'm only going to put brow gel on them today. I dye my eyebrows now that I also have my hair dyed, so I'm not sure if I need to fill them in or not. I'm going to start with just some brow gel. I'm using the Colourpop Brow Boss in Clear. Don't love it because it has a tendency to sometimes leave a little bit of a white residue on my brows, and just brush it in place. I tend to brush upwards for like the front third and then just a little bit at an angle for the remainder part of the brow. And that's the brows done. I'm going to take a quick little break though because my back is killing me, and I'm going to be back for eyeshadow later. For my eyeshadow, I'm using the Tanya Burr Hollywood Eye Palette. You can't see anything when it's that bright, but it looks like this. It has a cream shade, a shimmery gold, a sparkly bronze, and then brown. I'm going to start with the cream shade, which is a matte. It's called Nude Delight, and I'm just going to use base shadow brush from Real Techniques. It's my favourite, and I'm going to set my lid. I did briefly go over my eyelids with a powder, but I can see my concealer is creasing, so I'm going to set it a little bit more. I also just remembered I forgot to put eye primer on. Let's do that now, shall we? This is the Wunder2 primer. I'm just gonna plop some of that on both eyeballs. It has a bit of like a blue iridescent thing to it, which I don't love. I definitely don't need it for this look, so I'm gonna cover it up entirely with eyeshadow. But as a primer, it is decent. Back to Nude Delight, and let's just set the eyeshadow primer. I was really... I just did it. I was about to say I was really hoping to hit pan on this shade today because I have a massive dip, and I just did it. That is my first eyeshadow pan of the year that I intended. I smashed an eyeshadow a couple of days ago and it's currently drying after being repressed. But I have some pan. I'm not sure if it's going to show up, but it's in that shade. In the middle there is a little bit of pan. I am hoping to hit pan on all shades in this eyeshadow palette this year. I would also love to finish it, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that because I don't use it that much. I think I'll be able to finish Nude Delight though, and also Bookworm, which I'm going to go into now, which is the matte brown. And I'm just going to apply that into the crease, outer corner, lower lash line. A little bit messy in regards to how it looks on the lid and whatnot. I mainly just want it in the crease, blend it up to my eyebrows like I usually do. And this is a very easy colour to work with. It is very blendable, and on my skin it works really well as an eyeshadow that gives a little bit of depth, but it's not too dark. I don't think it's going to work on skin tones darker than me though, and I don't think this palette is available anymore. But honestly, I do like brown eyeshadows that are like this. They are kind of my favourite. It has a little bit of a red tone to it. It's not too dark for me. I think this is what a lot of people would call a transition shade. But I love it for super quick eyeshadow looks because it is just enough depth for me without being too much. Then for my eyelid, I'm going to take my Super Shock shadow, if I can open it. This is in the shade Blaze and it's a really pretty bronze. It's a little bit more of a cool toned bronze in comparison to the bronze in the palette. But I have made a pan on this and I would love to finish it. I prefer applying Super Shock shadows with my finger. I'm just going to pat that onto the lid. This has a lot of gorgeous glitter in it. I love just popping it on the lid. And whenever I'm using my finger, there's no way to get the edges neat. I'm going to go over them in a second. And then I'm just going to take the same brush and just blend the edge. I personally don't care if I get any of the glitter and stuff into my crease. I'm not too fussed about it. I just want it to look a little bit better blended than what it currently does. I'm just going over the edge. I have two mascaras and I'm going to use, the one in the project pan is the Maybelline Lash Sensational. I can't wear this on its own because it doesn't hold a curl well enough for me. So I'm going to pair it with Tarte Lights Camera Splashes, which is my favourite. I'm going to use the Maybelline one alone on the bottom lashes, but I'm going to layer them on the top lashes. I can't put mascara on a camera though because I end up bobbing all the way in and out of frame, and I'm going to be sitting like this next to my mirror so you won't be able to see anything. So that is my mascara on. I did bring some false lashes but I don't want to put them on. I can't be bothered to do that right now. I am going to have to powder parts of my face though, if I can find the brush, because I'm going to go to the grocery store in a little bit and I want to wear a mask, so I'm going to just powder my nose and the area around my nose. I have worn this underneath a mask before and it does hold up very, very well. I'm not that surprised by it because the concealer says it's waterproof, so I would kind of expect it to hold up a long time, but even still it held up very well under a mask. But I like to set it with a little bit of powder just to help it a little bit more. And I'm just setting my nose and the sides of my nose and on the cheeks and upper lip. And I'm also going to just quickly go over my chin. Everything else I'm just going to let whatever happens happens. And for my lipstick, the lip product in my project pan is the Marc Jacobs La Marque Liquid Lip Crayon in Plum and Get It, which is a very creamy lip crayon in a very, very beautiful plum colour. Now I have to use a lip brush when I use this because it is very messy, but I am going to line my lips a little bit first, and I'm using just the Berry M lip liner. This is in the shade Crush, but I just want to line the outer edges and I tend to also fill my lips in. And to apply it, I'm using a lip brush and I'm just wiping some product onto the brush and then going onto my lips. This colour has a little bit of like a metallic finish to it, which I don't love. I would prefer it if it was completely matte, but I don't mind it. My battery is flashing, so I'm not going to show you doing the last step. My final step is the setting spray. I have the Body Shop Mint Mattifying Face Mist here. So I'm going to spritz that on my face and then I am done. I really like the look. I hope you did too. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and I will see you again soon. Bye!